Bro, you're the nicest UFC fighter in the world, dude.
Shout out Basement Talk, man.
I'm gonna bite at least 2 of your ears off. I make more than $1 million in a day sometimes. You better
All right, guys, welcome back to Basement Talk. Today we have Mark the Shark Irwin.
Let's go.
The champ, bare knuckle boxing champion. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. But dude, I'm stoked. It feels weird looking at you right now because I've been watching your boxing matches. You got the cheetah head. Do you still have it?
No, I don't have the cheetah head.
Oh,
I gotta redo it for my upcoming fight. If I did it all the time, I'd probably be bald from bleaching my head. You know what I mean? But yeah, I like to do it before every fight, and then I usually these days I'll make it match the trunks.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's
kind of
sweet.
switch
That's
it
what I
up a little
noticed.
bit every time.
So when did that start?
You know, I've always been a huge fan of Prince Nassim Hamed. He's one of my favorite boxers of all time, and he would always wear the leopard print. And so as an homage to him and a couple other fighters that have like famously done leopard print in boxing and combat sports, I started wearing the leopard print trunks I had in my BKFC debut. And then from then it was the hair and then the trunks to match, and it's kind of become a trademark of mine at this point. So
I've seen you got the robe too with the leopard print.
it's a lot of
It's pretty
fun.
cool.
I lean into it. It definitely has big pro wrestling vibes to it too, which is a lot of the fun of it. So yeah, I enjoy kind of getting into the character. And
Where are you from? Are you from like California or?
yeah, so I was born San Francisco, California, and then I've lived all up and down the coast: San Diego, LA, Orange County. So these days I'm in Surf City, Huntington Beach, California. Before
Shout out
that, I
HB.
was in shout out to Surf City.
Yes, sir.
Before that, I was in Dana Point, so all up and down the coast. But I love Huntington Beach. I moved to that town when I was getting ready for my bare knuckle debut with BKFC. Back in the summer of 2021. And I moved there because there's a lot of great gyms and training partners and things like that. And the city has really embraced me, and I've really embraced the city, and I love being there and being a part of the fight culture in Huntington Beach.
Did you start fighting in the street when you were younger? Like, how did you start? When
did you first pick up the gloves?
Yeah, you always, not just the gloves, fighters obviously have to have a
Interest.
love for violence
Or passion, yeah.
getting into it. Did you get in street fights and stuff when you were younger, or how did it all start?
So I started watching boxing with my dad when I was a kid. I remember being 5 years old, and he asked me if I wanted to watch the greatest fight of all time. And we watched a VHS recording of Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Thomas Hitman Hearns. Which is a legendary fight, and I've been obsessed with boxing ever since as a fan. And then I got into a lot of fights and stuff like that when I was a kid at school and whatnot. But it actually wasn't until my early 20s that I began training. I ran track and field in college, and I was okay, and I was in good shape. But I ended up dropping out of school. And I was looking for something else to do, and I had some friends that were taking boxing lessons in a garage, and so they brought me along one day, and I beat up all my friends, and I've been training pretty much ever since.
Wow, that's
When you
crazy.
beat up all your friends, you'd fucking just wrestling, or you're punching them
No,
in the face?
boxing. So we were putting
Oh,
on the
shit.
gloves, and I was sparring pretty much from day one. And I remember my friends had been taking lessons for maybe 6 or 9 months, and on my first day, I showed up and I just fucking was wrecking everybody.
Wait, so how old were you, exactly?
I was in my early 20s. So I dropped out of college, and I was probably about 22, 23 when I started training. And it was pretty shortly thereafter I decided I wanted to have an amateur fight, just for fun, because I thought I could knock somebody out, And so I started training for that. And I've been...
That's pretty motivating because I'm 21. I want to get into it. I don't know what I want to do. Probably Muay Thai or something because I played soccer. I think I can kick, but
Sure.
I didn't think you could start this late, to be honest. So it's pretty interesting that you started that late.
Yeah, a lot of pros do start, at an early age when they're a kid or a teenager. I started relatively late. I had my first amateur fight when I was 24. I won my first tournament when I was in my late 20s. I had my professional boxing debut in my early 30s. Yeah, I had my bare knuckle debut when I was 32, and I ended up winning my first world title with BYB Extreme a couple weeks before my 35th birthday. So I definitely was a late bloomer, and started late in life. I always say the best time to start was 10 or 20 years ago, but the second best time to start is now. So if you're interested in pursuing combat sports, whether it be Muay Thai, boxing, jiu-jitsu, or whatever it might be, I would encourage you to start now. Yeah.
Do you ever wonder what would it have been like if I started even earlier?
No, because my dad would say, if the queen had nuts, she'd be the king, but she don't. So it's
Facts are facts.
yeah. Why bother even thinking about it? You know what I mean?
When did you realize oh shit, this is getting real? Were you 25, or where you're oh, I'm starting to compete, there's some people in the crowd?
Yeah, when did you know that you had the it factor to do it professionally? Or even that mindset?
Honestly, really late in life. I only started competing initially. I just wanted to have one amateur fight because I thought I could beat somebody up and I thought it would be funny. And I ended up training for it. I won by knockout. I had a lot of fun doing it. And then I got offered a job at LA Boxing at the time, just teaching bag classes on the weekend. And I figured that it would be a fun way for me to make a couple extra bucks and then also be able to train for free. And once I started working there, people were well, you should keep fighting. You know what I mean? You work here. And I was yeah, okay. So I kept competing and I kept winning amateur fights, and then ended up winning a couple state championships in my late 20s. And then that was kind of it for me. I thought I was done, being realistic about my age and my experience and things like that. I just didn't think it was a good idea to go pro. So I spent a year officiating with USA Boxing. So I would judge and referee fights. And I did 21 events in 2019. And it was a good experience, and I learned a lot about that part of the game. But ultimately, it didn't really set my soul on fire,
Why bare knuckle, dude?
Yeah, because that's a big
Some
jump.
fuck shit.
Especially being a little older too, and going from the point where I'm just boxing with my friends and I'm pretty good. I'm just kind of training boxing in this gym and stuff, and then I'm gonna be beating up people with my bare knuckles.
Yeah, bare knuckle.
That's a crazy jump.
Yeah, it wasn't something that I really ever planned initially. I went from officiating in 2019, and I was kind of fat and out of shape. You know what I mean? I hadn't been training. I had a long-term girlfriend at the time, and we ended up breaking up. And the pandemic happened right around that same time. This is early 2020.
Sounds like Kobe.
Yeah, so everything shut down. I couldn't officiate anymore. I couldn't work as a trainer, making money at the gym. And so I just started working out. I got in really good shape. And they're having professional fights in Tijuana. So as a bucket list thing, I decided I wanted to box professionally in Mexico. And I ended up taking a couple fights during the pandemic. I had my pro boxing debut in September of 2020 in Tijuana. And because there were so many COVID restrictions, I actually fought in the parking lot of a baseball stadium. They built the ring.
Holy fuck.
And then people would drive their car up like a drive-in movie, and people parked their cars all around the ring, and they would sit on top of their cars with masks, and people watch this box out there in the parking lot.
Oh my God.
Is there videos of this?
There's some grainy, footage.
How are those fighters, those Mexican fighters?
They're tough. They're wild.
Okay.
But
I feel like they're all fucking drugged up or something.
they're usually young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Teenagers, early 20s. And they're actually really hardworking people. You know what I mean? There's not a big amateur boxing culture in Mexico. I think a lot of people would rather just get paid to fight. And so that's what it is. The locals get paid to fight Americans, and they give it their best, but a lot of times the Americans just have better resources. But yeah, I had a couple fights down there, and that was fun. Like I said, it was a bucket list thing for me more than anything. Just I I wanted to have those experiences and just to know that like I did it, you know, because I didn't want to regret not doing it when I was older.
Yeah, it's a crazy story fighting in TJ.
And then one day I was watching YouTube and a bare knuckle fight popped up. So I watched it and I was like, this is crazy. Right. And then the algorithm of YouTube just started queuing all these bare knuckle fights. And so I ended up watching like 6 in a row, maybe. And it was after I watched all these fights, I was like, I could beat most of these dudes that I just watched. I'm not even being like cocky or whatever. Just I know, I can tell by watching people like how I would fare against them. And so, yeah, I watched that and I had that idea, but I didn't really think much else of it. And then just by chance, the next day I was scrolling on my phone and it says BKFC open tryouts, Tampa, Florida in 2 weeks. And I was like, is this a sign from the universe? And I just said, fuck it. And I bought a plane ticket and I got a hotel room. And I had been nursing a hand injury at the time. So I hadn't really been training, but I had 2 weeks. So I got in the best shape that I could in that 2 weeks. And then I flew out to Tampa, Florida. And 50 people showed up to those tryouts, and they said that they were going to sign 5 people to fight in BKFC, and I ended up being one of those people that got signed. And so I've been on this journey ever since.
How did that feel?
Yeah.
It was a fun adventure, you know. One of the reasons I decided to start fighting professionally, one, like I said, I didn't want to regret not doing it, but 2, I wanted an opportunity to travel and see the world. You know, so I boxed in Tijuana and traveled all over Mexico. And then flying out to Tampa and trying out was a fun adventure. And at that point, it started to feel like, oh, shit, like we're doing this now. Like we're like, what did I just sign up for, right?
It all kind of moved so quick.
Yeah, for sure. So after they signed me, actually, I flew out to Birmingham, Alabama, and I attended a BKFC event live. And one of my buddies from the tryouts was there, Jay Action Jackson. He got signed as well, and we had the same manager, so we're there. And they asked us to corner this guy that didn't have a coach, which is like a big red flag thing already. I already kind of knew. But I was like, okay. And this guy went out there, and he got his jaw broken, got his face split open. It was bad. And I saw a lot of guys just get absolutely wrecked out there. You know what I mean? Going home in an ambulance.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Did that scare you?
You know, it definitely was an eye-opener because I've been to amateur and professional events for boxing, kickboxing, MMA, right? I've been in the stands, ringside. I've been in the locker rooms, all of that, right? I've never seen people more busted up and torn apart than in the back locker rooms of a bare knuckle fight. I was like, holy shit.
There's like people live stitching back there too, right?
Oh, yeah. And that's normal to have like a nurse or a doctor on hand to stitch up the fighters post-fight, but it's almost a certainty that you're getting stitches in a bare knuckle fight, whereas boxing and MMA, it's a lot less frequent. When you get hit bare knuckle, it's almost instant that your face gets cut open.
It's not an octagon, is it? It's a triangle.
It's a triangle.
So it depends on the organization. I made my debut with BKFC. They have a ring. It's a circle.
Okay.
It's huge. And you can move around that thing all day if you know how to use your feet. It's kind of odd, too. It doesn't have real ropes. The ropes are steel pipes with pads on it. So it's like a brick wall. You can't like lean on the ropes and rope-a-dope.
Okay.
It's like running into a wall. So you got to be careful of that. BYB Extreme, who I fight for currently, who I'm the lightweight champion of that organization, they have the Trigon. So it's a triangular ring. It's 22 by 22 by 22. So I believe it is the world's smallest combat sports surface.
That's
so
nutty.
do you think that's easier than the circle because it's a little less space?
It's different. I wouldn't say that it's easier or more difficult. I would just say that the change in the shape and the space that you have to move changes your tactics. So in a large circular ring, I think that it's beneficial to people that like to move and use their legs and back up and circle and turn, right? If you know how to turn and pivot, you could just keep spinning in circles all day in that thing. Whereas in the Trigon, there's a lot less space to move. So it's not to your benefit to try and use a style that's heavy on movement. You kind of have to go forward and you kind of just have to fight. And that's the purpose of that design, right, is to encourage more confrontations and exchanges. And I think that
Smart.
yeah, bare knuckle boxing as a sport has the highest knockout ratio of any sport. It's over 90%. And I believe that BYB Extreme has an even higher knockout percentage amongst the other organizations because A, the shape of the ring, and then B, the rounds are a minute longer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think that people are more timid to throw more strikes because of bare knuckle, like in that arena?
No.
Let's fight to the death.
No, it's a shootout, and you kind of a lot of times at bare knuckle, you got to pull the trigger. You got to be first. If you're sitting around waiting around, I think that's not the move.
You can't play counter in that. Type
Yeah,
of
well,
arena.
you don't want to use a lot of, I think, conventional blocking techniques like you would with a large glove that can absorb a lot of that impact. Because A, you don't have that shield to block with, and then B, when you're blocking punches, you're not blocking a glove. You have a knuckle that's digging into your flesh.
When you get popped in the face by a glove and then get popped in the face by a fist, like, do you have a different snap when you get hit by a fist? Like, are you like, fuck? Like, it's fucking different.
It's like more of a wake
It's
up
like
call.
when you fucking get slapped, dude. Like bear slap or like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
It
It's
definitely
like having a
feels
fucking
different.
condom on and then not wearing a condom, you know?
It's definitely, you're definitely raw dogging it.
You're literally raw
Bare
dogging
knuckle is
it.
definitely the raw dog
For
of
sure.
MMA.
But no, to answer your question, the feeling of the impact of the strikes is different. It's a lot more devastating in bare knuckle, and the superficial damage is exponentially higher. Again, you're getting cut virtually every time you get hit. You're swelling a lot worse and more quickly than you would with the glove on, because the glove disperses a lot of that impact too. Whereas with bare knuckle, it's like the point.
Yeah.
All of that impact is on one small point, and it makes the impact a lot more explosive. The sound is a lot different.
Oh, yeah.
Being at a bare knuckle fight, it's kind of gross.
It's like a crack. Right?
Yeah.
It's a very different sound than boxing or MMA gloves.
That's crazy.
So getting into like punching bare knuckle, you had a fight recently against a guy named Josh, and he broke his wrist against your face.
yeah, what does that
Which
feel
is,
like?
I bet that hurt for him, but did that hurt for you? Like that must have, I mean, I don't know. That seemed pretty gnarly.
Yeah, it definitely hurt. He didn't break his hand.
No?
As it turns out, no. He alleged that it was broken. It turned out not to be broken.
Wow.
Not to say that it wasn't injured, because it was, I'm sure, and I'm sure it was very painful. But he turned around and had a mixed martial arts contest July 1st, which was about 6 or 7 weeks after our fight. So it would have been impossible for him to have had a fracture and then had it heal and have a training camp.
No, that's
exactly.
bullshit.
So
Definitely wasn't broken.
the damage was not as bad as he initially led people to believe, but I'm sure it did hurt while he was throwing it. It was a perfect shot. He caught me flush on the chin with a hard right hand as I was leaning in. And again, when you're hitting people bare knuckle, it feels like punching a brick wall, punching someone on the chin, the forehead. You know, someone's skull is a really hard surface, and the reason why they invented gloves was to protect your hands from breaking.
Kobe's punched me a couple times, so I feel that.
Yeah. So the punch definitely hurt, you know. I popped right back up. My legs came back pretty quickly. And then you just shake it off and you
Just kinda
deal
keep
with the
going.
consequences of that later.
One thing that I noticed too, I watch a lot of MMA fights and I see these guys, they'll go 3 to 5 rounds and then they'll have their little Joe Rogan interview for like 30 seconds to a minute. You hear him stumbling, you hear him doing all this stuff. I saw a video of you after a fight, a 4-minute long interview, and your head is about triple the size that it is right now and you're talking perfectly. Do you still have adrenaline running at that point? How do you do that?
Yeah, it definitely, I think just like anything experience, you get used to being in front of a camera and talking to people. You get used to doing post-fight interviews. It's funny you mentioned that because I actually got in an argument with my coach, Ian.
Really?
We're kind of joking around. He's like, "Oh, you have a concussion." I was like, "No, I don't." He's like, "You have to have a concussion after what just happened. You look at your face." I was like, "I'm not exhibiting any symptoms of a concussion. I don't have slurred speech. I don't have any memory issues. I'm very articulate and eloquent with my speech. I just gave a bunch of great interviews."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not showing any symptoms. And he's like, "Huh, weird."
Yeah. He's like, it's making sense. Yeah. I watched
Yeah.
you talk for like 4 minutes straight, clear. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I remember doing that interview with, I think it's Bare Knuckle TV or Bare Knuckle News. They do most of the post-fight interviews. And that was a great interview. I really enjoyed doing that interview. And I remember feeling sharp, you know what I mean, mentally, neurologically.
And you remember the interview. That's a good part.
Absolutely. I wasn't like neurologically impaired. I've had concussions where there's neurological impairment, speech is impaired, memory and function is impaired, and I didn't have any of those issues or side effects from the fight.
And what kind of steps are you taking outside of fighting just to like stop CTE and prevent kind of brain damage and stuff like that?
Yeah, so my coach is a former professional fighter. He was in the UFC for a long time. Ian Uncle Creepy McCall.
Shout out Ian.
Yeah, shout
We
out
got
to
him
Uncle
on.
Creepy.
Yeah, he's our boy.
It's the best.
Yeah, Ian's like a big brother to me. He's one of my best friends, as well as being a coach and manager and mentor. And I started working with him a number of years ago. Actually, I started taking psilocybin as therapy for traumatic brain injuries and past concussions because I had heard and read that psilocybin can be beneficial to people with brain injuries. And so I started experimenting with that and have found good results. In addition to that, I'm a big fan and proponent of hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which I do. Essentially, you lay in a tube like a big tent and they zip it up and then they decompress it so that it's like you're at elevation, and then you breathe out of an oxygen mask, like 100% oxygen. And essentially what that does is it like doubles your body's capacity for oxygen, and it allows the oxygen to penetrate like through your cellular walls like more deeply and efficiently than it would normally. And that has been proven to help regenerate brain tissue for people that have had traumatic brain injuries and concussions. So those are two things that I use a lot to help combat brain damage and, the possible long-term side effects and consequences of professional fighting.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm actually really curious. It's a little bit off what we were kind of talking about, but I've never fought in my life, right? But how
You've never
many...
been in a fight?
It's a good question. No, I actually haven't. I have never been in a fight.
That's amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
I've been in situations, but
Never been in like where it's just you and one other dude, like.
yeah, exactly. Me and one other dude, no. But I'm curious, like someone like me never fought ever before. How many people do you think you could take that have zero experience in fighting at the same time?
Honestly,
They're all running at you. Like how many? Maybe there's 5 of me just running at you. Like how many can you take?
you guys would all be fucked.
Oh,
Like, not any disrespect, but here's the thing that most people don't understand. Because I've read somewhere, and I absolutely believe this. I read that the average person, like the average male, overestimates his ability to defend himself by 4,000%. And I absolutely believe that. And
I believe that too.
I'll tell you why.
I definitely do that.
I'll tell you a story, actually. Okay. So this is the last time that I got into like a street fight. I was probably 26 years old, and I lived with some roommates in this house in Dana Point. And it was like the weekend before Halloween. I remember my girlfriend was over. We carved jack-o'-lanterns and watched some shitty horror movies, had a couple glasses of wine, and went to bed early because we both had work in the morning. My roommate was a bartender, and he came home late with some friends from the bar, and they're wasted and making a bunch of noise. So I came out a couple times. I'm like, hey, can you guys keep it down? You know, and like, I think the third time I came out, one of the guys is this giant buff dude. We get into it. We start having words. And next thing you know, I hit the dude with a 1-2, and he goes flying across the room.
Jesus.
He pops back up. I hit him maybe 3 or 4 more times. Gets knocked unconscious. Fight's over. He woke up a couple minutes later, ran away. I ended up breaking his nose, his orbital bone, and one of his teeth.
Jeez.
He had multiple lacerations that needed stitches. There was a huge police investigation.
Just from a 1-2.
I hit him with a 1-2. He got back up, and then I hit him with maybe like 4 more punches.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
They looked into the whole thing. He was asked to leave several times. He was threatening me. I was within my right to defend myself, so I was absolved of any wrongdoing. Right? Yeah, no, nothing like that. That's right. But that was the last time I got in a fight with someone in the street. The thing about the average person, like, that's never been hit, I believe that getting hit is like any other component of fitness. If you never jog, and I'm like, hey, we're going to go do 7 miles right now, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Your body's going to be wrecked. You're going to get seriously hurt. Like, you're going to pull all these muscles and shit. It's not going to be good. If you've never lifted weights in your life and you go to the CrossFit gym and they start making you do all that shit, you're going to get seriously injured. If you've never been hit, your body doesn't have any conditioning against being hit. Your body does not know how to be hit. And the impact that it's going to have on your body is going to be exponentially worse than when you see a trained fighter who's been conditioned to being hit for years and years and years, you know, decades at that point when you see them on television, right? Just like you see someone running a marathon, they've been conditioned to run that marathon, right? But you, if you don't run at all, you can't go run that marathon right now because your body won't allow you to. And I believe that taking damage is a lot like that. You have to be conditioned against taking damage, and you have to learn how to take damage, and your body builds up a resiliency against taking damage as a result of taking damage. So if you've never been hit, and especially if you got hit by someone who's a trained fighter, you could literally die with a couple shots.
I want to go train, dude.
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
want to train with you guys.
Wait. When you were fucking that guy up in the house, was your girl like, yeah,
She was
go?
sleeping in the other room.
No, she was
Yeah.
just
Shit.
so you could take Bradley Martyn, do you think?
Yeah, I would kill Bradley Martyn
He's
easily. He's the perfect
260.
example. It doesn't matter. The first time, and it's not to say that like he'd be a total pushover, because that guy's a physical specimen. He would present problems, but the first time I catch him on the chin, his chin is broken and he's knocked unconscious. I saw a video of him recently getting absolutely ragdolled by a brown belt.
By Brian Callen, I saw
You could
that.
find a
I saw that
I
too.
saw that.
He's 56, by the way.
You could
too.
find a
It's
brown
crazy.
belt in any single Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym that you go to on any block. There will be a bunch of brown belts. And yeah, any one of them will ragdoll the shit out of that giant 260-pound dude. So imagine getting in a fist fight with a bare knuckle boxing world champion.
You're fucked.
It's the same thing. Like, I don't care how much you weigh. This is what I do. I do it every day. I train with UFC champions, Hall of Famers, undefeated fighters in boxing and MMA. This is what I do. I train against the best in the world. I am one of the best in the world. I'm ranked number 4 in the world at my sport. And some asshole on steroids with a podcast stands no chance.
I love
and
that.
to answer your question, yeah, like 5 people, not a problem. Because as soon as I hit someone, an average person, they're out. And the thing is, they don't even see the punches.
Because they're knocked out.
Michael Jordan was one of the greatest athletes that no, but like they don't see it coming. Like their eyes don't register it. You know what I mean? They don't even know what's about to happen.
Oh,
Michael Jordan was one of the greatest athletes of all time, right?
yeah.
He sucked at baseball. And the reason is he didn't have the decades of experience watching that ball come down the lane like all the MLB players do, to be able to know within a fraction of a second if I should swing on this thing, if it's, you know, in the strike zone, if it's not. That comes with time and experience. You know, having a million punches thrown at you in the gym, sparring, in competition, in the amateur fights and professional fights, like, you build up an ability to see those punches before they get thrown and like as they're being thrown, and then you have the reflexes and the skills to block and defend it, and you do that automatically without thinking. Whereas
like
the
muscle
average
memory.
person, dude, if I swing on that person, their eyeballs, like if I spar against a newcomer, they don't even see it, dude. They just get hit and they don't know what happened, and then they're wrecked.
How do you think like that Bryce Hall guy did in his first fight?
So, like I told you, BKFC, it doesn't have ropes. They're steel pipes, right? And that kid, Bryce Hall, he's a big kid. I think he was dropping down to 168.
Yeah.
Was a contracted weight. He fought Guy. I know Guy. Guy's a good fighter. He's the BKFC cut guy. He fights at 125. So he went all the way up to 168.
He fights at 125.
125 and
insane.
135. He has fights.
Oh,
I had
wow.
no idea about that.
Yeah, so he's a little guy. So he's moving, you know what I mean? And that's
They don't talk about that.
well, that's part of what makes it interesting, right? You have this trained fighter that's 25er and a 35er fighting a giant buff dude at 168 pounds.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, no disrespect to Guy, but I think where he fucked up is he underestimated the physicality of that much bigger man. And like I said, the YouTuber, right? Like he would present challenges. It's not like I could just walk up and blast him and it's over. Someone that big and that strong is a serious problem. That's like dealing with a bull. But if you are a trained bullfighter, you know how to deal with a bull. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how big and strong the bull is. You're going to stab it. You're going to kill it. But I think Guy was ignorant and arrogant about the size and the power of this bigger, stronger athlete. And you don't want to like lock horns with a bigger body. Like you got to stay away from a bigger fighter and use your space and your time and to get in and land punches and get out. And I think he didn't do that, and he allowed Bryce to get too close to him. At one point, Bryce charged him and I think knocked him into the ropes. He hit the back of his head
Those are hard.
on it. And then he ended up hitting, I want to say,
Part of
his elbow on one of those ropes as well. And you notice he switched his stance and he was fighting with one hand.
Probably jacked his
And it was
stuff.
because he jacked up his arm, banging it against one of those pipes.
Even
Why wouldn't they change those pipes? That's
Oh, it's
kinda weird.
intentional.
Okay,
Yeah.
because no one on TV, I don't think
It's
any
like
of us
stay
would
off
have
the
guessed.
ropes.
No,
Get at
no,
each
no.
other. That makes
Exactly.
it entertaining.
Yeah,
Because
that's
the
probably
fighters
stay
can
off
use
the
the
ropes.
ropes. They call it rope-a-dope. Muhammad
Okay.
Ali invented that against George Foreman, like leaning into the
Go in
ropes
and yeah.
as a defensive tactic. It kind of can stall the action. So if it's just a wall, you just got to stand your ground and fight a lot more. And
Yeah.
it adds its own challenges. So.
I think Bryce looked good though. He didn't look bad.
I'll give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
Yeah. For someone with no professional or amateur striking experience, he looked decent. I know that he trained with Lorenzo Hunt a lot for that fight, who is one of the best in the world at bare knuckle. So I'm sure that was helpful.
What weight are you typically fighting at?
So I'm the 135-pound champion for BYB Extreme.
So you can never probably cross paths with him, or would you ever fight
Bryce Hall.
Yeah.
I mean, if they paid me a bunch of money, I'd fight Bryce Hall. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure it would get some buys too. So it's
Yeah.
not
I was also wondering how many guys at 135 on the UFC roster right now do you look at and you're like light work.
No, honestly, I train with a lot of UFC guys. It's not light work, dude.
Really?
If you're in the UFC, you're there's maybe 500 to 700 people in the UFC at all times. That makes you one of the 500 to 700 baddest people on the planet.
That's really cool to hear.
Yeah, so I have a lot of friends and training partners that are in the UFC at 135 and 145 that I train with, and it's hard work. And I'm grateful for those rounds with those guys and to be in those training rooms.
Who do you think the scariest fighter right now is in the UFC? I think it's John Jones. There's hands down.
Pound for pound?
Just
Pound for pound?
I guess pound for pound, yeah.
Like any weight class? Yeah, I guess it's got to be the heavyweight champion of the world is the baddest dude on the planet.
Sean
What about-
O'Malley.
I need to see one more fight from
Sean
him.
O'Malley's fucking he's a fucking
That
beast
guy-
right now.
Sugar
That
Sean
guy's-
fans.
Yeah, I like
What
Sean.
do you think of Sugar?
I'm a big fan of what he's doing. I love watching his striking. The dude is an absolute savant when it comes to kickboxing. I actually had the good fortune of getting to train with Cheeto Vera for quite a bit.
Super cool.
We did, I want to say, 6 weeks over at Ruka Training Center when he was getting ready to fight against Frankie Edgar. I was getting ready for my BKFC debut.
I don't like Sean anymore.
Well,
You think that,
dude?
Because Cheeto.
yeah,
I'm
Cheeto's a
kidding.
beast, man. So we would spar on Tuesdays and Saturdays for like 6 weeks, and it was some of the hardest sparring I ever had in my life. That dude is an absolute demon. He has cardio for days. He's indestructible, and he's extremely powerful. He's like a truck. He just comes forward and just runs over everything. I
What
can't
weight
wait.
class is he?
He's 135. Man,
Who
he
do you
has
think wins that
the
then?
one win over.
He's the
finished
only
Sean
person who's
O'Malley.
finished Sean.
Sean
And they're
O'Malley, I
about-
think, is 17-1.
They're
So
about to have a rematch.
Well, wasn't
correct?
that him like slipping or something on his ankle or no?
no, he Cheeto kicked him in the calf several times, and his foot went out from one of those calf kicks, and he fell down. And then Cheeto got on top, ground and pounded him to a TKO finish.
Do you think that was an early call?
No, it was.
No,
I mean,
it wasn't. It
the
wasn't.
dude
He won.
had one leg. That this wasn't going anywhere. You know what I mean? That fight was over. That was a great performance by Cheeto, and it looks like they're going to do the rematch as Suga's first title defense. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. Good for Cheeto too. He
Yeah,
deserves a title defense.
He deserves it, man. That guy has been, in the top 10, top 5 for a long time, grinding, and I'm really excited for that fight and that rematch.
Hey guys, yes, I'm on a private jet, and none of this would be possible without our sponsor, Zill Media. If you need any social media or any content done, or even start a podcast like ours, they are the best in the business. Go to zillmedia.com and mention Basement Talk for a discount on their services. Now let's get back to the episode.
Let's get off this fake jet. Go get back to the episode.
Have you ever thought of making the switch over to the UFC or anything like that?
Well, I would definitely do MMA professionally if the money was right and the situation was right. I'm a striker first and foremost, and I don't currently have any plans or designs to do anything outside of boxing or bare knuckle. But I'll always listen to an opportunity, and ultimately I'm a prize fighter, so I'm here to get paid. I'm trying to get rich and famous. So if someone wanted to offer me a boatload of money to do MMA, boxing, this person, that person, whatever, I'm open to discussions.
Do you think Dylan Dennis took the promo too far?
Well,
Have you seen that stuff?
I've been following it a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of him or Logan Paul, to be honest. I think it's kind of a sideshow.
For sure.
I kind of like Dylan. I don't know why. I like that guy.
He's not a good fighter.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he's not a
What
good
do you,
striker.
you can answer his question, but what do you think about this YouTube boxing shit as a boxer? Like, if you're a real professional boxer, and then all these guys fucking
Jake Paul?
no, like KSI, like
They're just kind of jumping
they're
into
all
it and
kind of
claiming
jumping
it.
into it, and like they're trying to kind of take over the eyes of boxing fans, I guess.
Do you think it's taking away eyes from like the sport itself?
No, I think ultimately it's good for boxing because I think that if it brings new fans to the sport, that only helps move the sport forward. And I don't begrudge anybody that climbs through those ropes and fights another man, especially in front of a big audience.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of balls to do that, I think. And you're putting your life on the line every time you get in there. You could get killed. There's usually 10 to 20 fatalities a year professionally from combat sports around the globe. So, like I said, I never begrudge somebody for getting in there and making $1. I'm trying to make as much money as I can, getting in there, doing it myself. So if I had an opportunity to box a YouTuber, I would gladly take it. You know what I mean? I would love to fight on a Jake Paul undercard because those fighters get paid well and the exposure is high. I would love to box a former UFC fighter for a ton of money.
Call him out.
Yeah, call anybody out. Whoever wants to smoke with Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake Paul, if you are listening to this, I would love to fight for MVP promotions. You don't have any bare knuckle boxers currently signed to your promotion. Next time you're in LA, let's get lunch. You, me, and Uncle Creepy. Hit me up.
There we
Start
go.
get some real bare knucklers in there.
Yeah.
Some men.
And
Maybe get some training in too.
But seriously, like just to go back a little bit, if you propose to your girl, but then you end up seeing her with like 80 dudes on these photos, like what are you doing? What are you doing if you're Logan Paul?
Well, no chick has never had a boyfriend before they met you, right? I think
not every boyfriend's
obviously that's
Leo.
a little ugly when you start bringing up someone's personal life.
Yeah.
I'm not always a big fan of that. I wouldn't start bringing up an opponent's personal life, but it gets views. It gets
us talking
it gets
about
hits.
it.
It gets us talking about it, and I'm sure it gets under his skin. And ultimately, you're trying to win, and it's the fight before the fight, the psychological battle. So
He already won.
yeah, well, he's getting sued in court.
He is.
So we'll see how that plays out.
What are they suing him for? What are you suing for?
Defamation, I'm pretty sure, right?
He released photos of the dude's chick that was in one way, shape, or form. It was illegal, and you can get sued up to, it's like 6 figures for each photo, or maybe it's like 50 grand, but whatever it is, he's being sued for several $1 million as a result of all the photos that he.
There goes that Twitter money, Dylan.
Yeah.
Damn.
that's crazy.
So we'll see how that plays out.
When you're going through like your fight camp and you guys fight, obviously after the fight, your face is all fucked up. Are you guys still like going out to the club or to the bars and fucking around with girls and shit?
How easy is it to pull with a black eye?
Yeah.
It depends on how badly beaten up you are. For this last fight, I was out at the bar afterwards. My face was crying blood and like leaking blood out of my eye nonstop. I probably chain smoked a dozen cigarettes and slammed 2 or 3 old fashions down.
Ease the pain away.
Didn't feel the eye anymore though. Huh?
Didn't feel the eye too. I was in such a good mood.
When you're in the fucking bar or the club, what are people saying to you? Like, what the fuck happened to you?
No, because the bar happened to be right next door to the venue, so everyone that was at the bar was at the fight.
Just saw you fight.
You're holding up your belt and stuff?
Yeah. No,
you still have your uniform on?
Yeah, I was
hell yeah.
fresh out of there, but yeah, everybody knew who I was and came up and congratulated me, chat about the fight.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Have you ever banged a ring girl?
Uh,
I gotta ask, dude.
no comment. Yeah, but
I think that's a
I
yes.
do love the ring girls. They are hardworking ladies. They do a great job, and I certainly appreciate their contributions to the sport.
I know you can't say if you've banged them or not, but when you're walking out, is it like a locked eyes type of shit?
When you're coming out, you have tunnel vision.
Yeah,
I know you're
pay
not,
attention
you're
to
not
that,
looking
huh?
at
There's
the
no
girl.
time to
Yeah.
plant seeds before the fight.
That's a distraction, dude. You got to block that out.
For this last one, I was making a lot of eye contact with the crowd because I was getting a lot of boos.
I saw
really?
you when you won your
Yeah.
fucking.
Yeah, so I was in his backyard. It's his hometown,
Yeah.
right? So when I came out from behind the curtain, just every single person in the building was like thousands of boos.
Yeah.
Which was a crazy experience. Like I've never had that.
Why the fuck
Yeah.
are they doing that to you?
It's his home.
It was
his
the other
home-
dude's home
Oh,
turf.
His hometown.
So I'm the bad guy, right?
Right.
He's the hometown
Yeah.
fighter, right? Everyone cheers for him. When I walked out, the entire arena booed me. So I was like, fuck it. I started, fuck you, like looking at people making eye contact.
Oh, that's
fuck
sick.
you.
So that doesn't get in your head at all. It's more of like an edge type of thing for you.
No, I loved it. I knew that was going to be the case. This organization, we had a meeting on Skype at the beginning of this year with myself and maybe half a dozen other fighters that they had pegged to be like the stars of BYB for 2023. And somewhere in the course of the meeting, they're like, we love pro wrestlers. They're like, Mark, like you're a typical like pro wrestling heel. Like you're the bad guy. I was like, yeah, that's what I've been going for. They're like, lean into it, like do it, right? Sick. So, yeah, I grew up watching that stuff as a kid. You know what I mean?
Who's your favorite wrestler?
I loved the NWO. So like Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, all those guys were like my favorites.
That's sick.
Yeah,
definitely some heels.
Yeah, because before the fight, he went in for the fist bump, and you were like,
yeah, it's fun to be the bad guy. You know what I mean? It's fun to talk shit. It's fun to dress up in crazy outfits and have crazy hair and crazy sunglasses and say crazy shit.
It's how you sell.
Yeah,
but it's fun too. You know what I mean? Like being like a good sportsman and politically correct all the time. That shit's for the birds, dude. You know what I mean?
And where do you draw the line? Like saying like a Dylan Dennis type of shit talk to like a McGregor being like a middle ground of like just like fair shit talk.
You know, I think it depends on the situation. I think probably where I would draw the line, don't talk about someone's family, don't talk about their kids, probably don't talk about their wife. But I'm not the arbitrator of anybody's conduct either, you know what I mean? And it is the art of war. Like we're going to get in there and we're going to try and fucking kill each other.
Yeah.
So if I can do or say something that's going to aggravate, agitate, or upset you in a way that it might throw you off your game, fair play.
Fuck it.
You know what I mean? And, you know, sorries and apologies can be said in the locker room afterwards. You guys can work it out then if you want to or not.
Yeah.
What is like your training schedule right now?
So I'm currently in training. I'm hoping to have a contract for my first title defense soon. We're talking about headlining the end of year event December 2nd. So as far as my training regimen is concerned, I work out 12 times a week. I do twice a day, 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. In the mornings, I'll go to one of my boxing gyms that I train at, and I'll hit pads with a coach or have scheduled sparring. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do strength and conditioning with my strength and conditioning coach, Corey Beasley. Shout out to Corey Beasley.
Shout out Corey.
He's one of the best in the world. He works with a lot of UFC guys. So he does small group training in his garage. So it's a bunch of dudes with their shirt off doing weird exercises.
Kyler, you'd like that.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up. Fit right in there.
No, but he's a mad genius. You know, he's got a bunch of degrees in strength and conditioning, and he's developed a lot of prototypes for devices that are really cutting edge. So I do that twice a week. And when I'm not in the weight room with him or in the boxing gym with one of my coaches, I'll be doing a lot of road work. That's a big part of my training. Like I said, I ran track and field in college. So I do a lot of running for conditioning and weight loss. And then I'll mix in some jiu-jitsu, grappling, and the occasional yoga session.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, Sundays I rest and I do recovery where I'll do cryotherapy, massage, HBOT, like the oxygen therapy, and whatever else I might be doing that day.
Wow.
Going back, though, has anyone ever gone in your head in a fight?
I really feel like my mental game is the strongest part of my game. I don't take this shit personally. It's really hard to get under my skin because, again, I'm aware. Like, that's what I'm trying to do to you. I'm not going to let you do it to me. So I think it's very tough. Not to say that, it couldn't be done, but no, I don't think anyone's ever gotten under my skin or in my head in the lead up to a fight.
Do you do like film on the opponent?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We watch a lot of tape whenever it's available.
Is it usually pretty accurate too when you get in there? You're like, okay, I saw this. Or do they like switch it up a little? I don't know. It's different when you're in there, but
it's case specific, definitely. I think usually watching tape is beneficial and helpful. I have had situations where people kind of pulled the Uno reverse card on me, so to speak, where I watched a lot of film on them and I had certain expectations that they were going to do certain things, and then they did just the opposite. So you always go in there with a plan A, but you also have a plan B and a plan C, because a lot of times things don't go as planned.
Especially in a fight, I'm sure.
Yeah, things can go haywire pretty quickly, and a lot of times you have to be able to make adjustments on the fly. So being able to be adaptive and reactive is a big part of fighting.
I hear a lot of people too talk about how, I'm sparring this guy, but is sparring really comparing to a real fight? Like, how close really is it?
I guess it depends on the individual, and I guess it depends on the sparring session and your sparring partner. But sparring should be hard. Sparring should be challenging. It's one of the things that you can do to really get yourself in shape for a fight, is to really push yourself in the sparring and training room with hard rounds against good guys. Like I said, I did about a dozen sessions with Cheeto Vera as one of the head sparring partners in his camp. And honestly, I felt like I had like a dozen UFC fights with the guy, because he just goes full tilt every second, every round. Like, it's, he's nice before and after, but when the bell rings, that guy is not your friend, and you better move your ass, because he's coming for you. So, some people are a little more lax and laid back in sparring. Everyone has their own, attitude.
Scary though, right? Because you don't want to get hurt or hurt the person, right? So it's like, how much do you really go? Do you guys tell each other like 80% or 90%, or do you just go at it?
Again, it really just depends on the person.
Cheeto was 100% or what?
I mean, maybe not 100, but it was really hard sparring, and everyone's different. Some people are proponents and advocates of light sparring. I think a certain amount of hard sparring is important, because the fight is going to be very hard. It's like not just physically, mentally, emotionally, right? You're going to be in really difficult spots that's going to really test you and push you to your limits. And if you're not working through those feelings and situations and scenarios and training, you're not going to have the conditioning and the resistance and the confidence to be able to work through it on fight night. So I'm a believer in hard sparring and using that in training camp to be in not just physical condition, but mental and emotional and spiritual condition to fight.
I was going to ask when and how you came up with Mark the Shark.
So that's always been my nickname. I remember when I was getting ready for my amateur boxing debut, you have to fill out a form with all your info, right? Name, birth date, weight. So it says nickname, and I hadn't even thought or considered it. And the first thing that popped in my head was Mark the Shark, because my dad would call me that when I was a kid. So I wrote that down, and it's kind of stuck. Yeah, it's catchy. Sharks are badass. They'll fuck you up. And I've lived in all the beach towns in California. So
The only tattoo I have.
Yeah, he's got
There's
a
a
shark tattoo. It's the only one he's got.
right on, I got one right here.
Dude, I got one right over here.
His is like right over the shoulder.
On the shoulder, but
Yeah, it's like the head and then the tail. So like when you look at me from here, it looks like there's a shark like jumping out of my neck, like through my neck.
Oh,
That's crazy.
That's a good one.
So you were talking about your dad showing you your first boxing fight, all that type of stuff. How big of an impact does he have on your fighting career and just your life in general?
A big one. My dad is one of my best friends. He went to all my amateur fights.
Super cool.
He is really good with the camera. So he would come and film and take photos of all my amateur fights. Even drove to one of my pro fights in Mexico and filmed it in Tijuana in the middle of a pandemic. And he's in his 70s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a badass. So he's a big supporter of my professional career, and I know that he's very proud, so.
Yeah, was it ever hard to like let your parents know, like, yo, I'm going to be a fighter type of thing? I feel like that's hard for parents to watch their kids just go in there and go rounds.
No, like I said, my dad's always been supportive, and like I said, he's good with the camera. So he's always been in the gym too. He'll come to sparring and film my sparring against fighters, and then put it on tape for me so I can sit back and watch it later and kind of assess my, what I'm doing good, what mistakes I'm making, and things like that. So he's been actually a big part of this journey the whole way, and He's a really smart guy. He had multiple degrees in college, and that was always like a pathway for him to be successful in life. And so he always advocated that I, stay in school. And of course, I dropped out of college and started fighting people for money. But he's been always very supportive, nonetheless. And like I said, went to all my fights as an amateur. We get coffee every Sunday and hang out and catch up on what we've been doing during the week, and talk about my fights.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I'm the third of 4. My mom had 2 kids from her first marriage, and then she met my dad, and they had 2 more, myself and my little sister. Hey,
I'll be honest. If I wasn't doing this, I'd probably be fighting. But like, what would you be doing if you weren't fighting? I wanna get in there. I'm gonna get in the gym after this. It's motivating.
I don't know what I'd be doing, but it probably wouldn't be anything good. I love combat sports. It wasn't, like I said, anything I ever set out with any real intention. I just did it for fun. I was boxing with my friends in a garage, and I was having fun, and I just wanted to like compete as a bucket list thing, and I've just been kind of pushing the boundaries of this ever since and riding this ride. And I've been having the time of my life doing it. It's given my life a sense of purpose. It's really good for me to have a fight on schedule because I know what I'm doing today. I'm going to get up. I'm going to train. I'm going to eat right. I'm going to go to bed early. I'm going to not drink. I'm not going to party. You know what I mean? I'm going to live a healthy lifestyle. I think there's some irony to that because, obviously people always talk about brain damage and the effects that being a professional fighter has on your health. But for me, it helps me maintain a healthy lifestyle that I otherwise wouldn't, because when I don't have a fight, I am drinking and I'm partying and I'm eating shitty food. I'm smoking cigarettes. I'm out late with strange people doing strange things, and it's all bad. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's all good. You know what I mean? It's fun, but like you can't do that forever. It's not sustainable, and that never plays out well. I'll do that for a couple weeks after my fights to celebrate and live it up and make up for lost time when I wasn't doing any of that shit when I was training. And then usually after a couple weeks, I feel like shit and I'm fat and sick and I'm over it, right? And I'm like, you know what? I need to get back in the gym and back on my shit.
Yeah.
I'm kind of an extremist. What's up?
What's that meal though in that phase? Like, what are you eating?
When I'm training?
No, when you're not training.
Oh man, I'm bad, dude. Because I'm a fat fuck, right? Like I like food and partying and girls and all that shit. So I really lean into it. But when I'm eating bullshit, I love like fried chicken, like a fried chicken sandwich.
Cane's?
No, dude. I like like Jaybirds or like Dave's Hot Chicken, shit like that.
Dave's Hot Chicken is shit, dude.
My favorite is Jaybirds.
A little slice of hot bread.
Jaybirds in HB is the bomb.
Have you had Zach's Chicken?
No, but
I'll just because your name's Zach,
check it out.
No, I'm telling you, that place smacks.
Fuck you, bro. You said it because
I'm name dropping. It's whatever.
Like fried chicken waffles, donuts.
Oh, geez.
What's the fancy donut spot in Costa Mesa? No. Sidecar. Yeah. Love that shit.
Crumble.
Ooh. Yeah, I haven't had crumble.
Crumble's too sweet, dude.
I'm gonna have to check that out after this next one.
Yo, you should ask him the question we ask. This dude this dude's got his main question.
Do you think that a guy can have a girl best friend?
I mean, whenever it's like a male, female, no, because usually, and I'm sure there's outliers and exceptions to every rule, but typically I feel like a lot of times one person wants something outside of the platonic friendship, and that's why they're playing the long game, right? And it could be the male, it could be the female, but usually like
he might not even know it.
Yeah, but typically one party is interested in more than just friendship, and that's why. Yeah, no, it's a fallacy.
Off limits. Okay, do you have like craziest post-fight party story?
Craziest post-fight party story.
Dude, this might get criminal, bro. Chill.
It's okay. We'll cut if it gets too criminal.
Like I said, I like to really get crazy and have a good time, post-fight. I think for this last one, it was a trip. I got invited to it's like a pre-SP party.
Oh, wow.
Because the SPs were in LA. This was right after my fight. So I got invited for the second year in a row. So I'm in downtown LA at this event. Devin Haney's there. I'm hanging out talking to him about boxing, like showing him like videos of my fight. He's like, oh, we should spar. You know what I mean? Like Alexander Volkanovski's there, Leon Edwards, like crazy, crazy famous people.
You get to pick his brain at all?
I was talking to Devin Haney for a little bit, you know what I mean? But it's so strange for me going from someone that started as late as they did and didn't start fighting professionally until he was in his 30s. Now I'm at the same party as Devin Haney, and he's telling me we should spar. I'm like, what the?
That's crazy. That's
it's definitely surreal. It's been a crazy ride, and I really try to enjoy it, every bit of it, while I'm on it, and to appreciate all that.
Yeah.
Did you ever spar him?
No, I haven't sparred Devin Haney. Yeah.
Gotta hit him up.
Devin Haney, stop ducking. No.
Yeah, Devin's
No,
ducking,
Devin
dude.
Haney.
That'd be a hard spar, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
And Bradley Martyn thought he could beat him up.
Ryan
Crazy.
Garcia supposed to fight Tank, right?
I don't know.
But they did. Yeah.
Right? Oh, I'm so
Yeah, you're behind, bro.
Ryan took that
Man,
liver
I'm
shot,
like-
remember?
Yeah, Ryan got
That was
knocked out.
pretty.
That was crazy.
That was weird as fuck.
Kobe low-key doesn't like Ryan Garcia.
I don't know why.
I don't either. I'm not a huge fan. I mean, he's a great fighter. Don't get me wrong, but
I mean, that shit was pretty weak. Dude, he fucking.
I mean, again,
dude, he
though, have we
trains like-
fought though, Kobe? No.
No,
Like,
but
we
I've
haven't-
taken a punch before at a.
Let him give you a gut shot and let's see how weak Ryan
No,
Garcia
I'm
is.
sure it
I'm not
fucking
letting-
hurt. You know what I mean?
It hurt,
I
but
think
he's
if
Ryan
you
Garcia.
can get it up, I think you should. But I wasn't there. I didn't take that shot. You know what I mean? So it's not for me to say. And I don't know what was going on with him. I would rather go out on my shield. You know what I mean? Than to not.
Yeah.
But everyone's different. And again, I wasn't in that situation, so it's hard for me to speak on it.
For sure. I'm sure it's different with every fight. If there was one influencer, maybe ex-UFC, ex-pro boxer that you could call out right now that they can get the smoke any day of the week, money's right, who is it?
Ian McCall.
No.
No, we love you.
No, I love
Got
Ian.
Uncle
Ian's my
Creepy.
big brother, but I would love to fight like Dominic Cruz or Uriah Faber in a boxing match on like one
Uriah
of
Faber, the
Game
butt
Bread,
chin.
Jorge Masvidal's boxing cards that he puts on a lot
Yeah,
of
I've
like
been seeing that.
cross fights. I would love
Ben
to fight.
Askren.
Ben Askren is probably a
Think
little
you'd
out of my
wipe
weight
Ben.
class, but yeah, I would love to box some
Dominic Cruz would
UFC
be crazy.
fighters. That'd be
Uriah
rad.
Faber would be
Absolutely.
crazy. Those guys are intense.
Jorge Masvidal, if you can see this, sign me up. Let's go. I would love to fight some former UFC fighters. Let's get it.
Boom.
What
Yes,
about
sir.
like woman fighting or woman boxing? Do you think you'd fuck all the women up fighting?
Well, there's a reason why there's different leagues. You know what I mean? There's a reason why it's so controversial when you see transgender athletes competing against biological females. It's not. It's not a fair.
And I'll tell you why, because I asked Ian, I said, hey, Ian, do you think like a UFC girl right now can beat you? And he said, there's no woman on this planet that can beat me. That's what Ian said. So that's why I'm asking you.
No, I mean, I've trained with female fighters. They're tough and they have skills. Like they are very skilled, but the power difference is not fair, and that's why they have the different leagues. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I'd like
weight
to
class.
I'd like to flip Kyler's question that he asked you earlier, but with a woman fighter. Say Ronda Rousey standing right there. Do you think she could beat up 5 of Kyler?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
No
I agree.
shit,
Yeah,
I
she'd
agree.
just slam them all on their heads. one by
Five of
one.
me though,
Boom.
dude. I think 5 of me have a chance.
No.
I think so.
I think a regular woman could beat
Ronda
up
See,
5
but
of you.
like you said, like Ronda Rousey, I would just
Ronda Rou-
wheelhouse kick like.
No. Ronda
I'm
Rousey
kidding, I'm
would
kidding.
fuck 10 of you up,
Yeah,
maybe 5 of me.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm definitely aware of this, but like maybe 6, like
No.
6.
There's no
Kylers?
way.
I would
Come
just go
on,
home,
dude.
bro. If
Yeah, I would just go home.
go the other way. You know what I mean? I'd be like, I don't want to fight.
What if I just helicopter? All of the Kylers were helicopter punching, just spinning.
No.
That'd be worse.
Should go for a
probably.
top down.
Yeah, it'd probably be way worse. Yeah.
Or diving headers.
Have you ever seen somebody do that in a UFC fight? A
Well,
helicopter.
they should.
Obviously, you could
trying
tell.
to
Spinning elbows,
You
like
could tell he's never fought.
Yeah, there's a reason why
Actually-
you've never seen anyone do that in the UFC.
I was actually
should
going to
try
ask
it,
you this. In your fights, are you guys allowed to throw little elbows or little jabs? Or
No, you're it's punches only.
Okay. I
yeah.
saw like I don't think you were doing little elbows, but I don't know if I was tripping when I was watching your last fight. I thought I saw you throw in some elbows in there,
Probably blocking, huh?
or were you maybe blocking your face? I don't know.
It probably wasn't
Yeah.
intentional. But you know, in a fist fight, especially when you're throwing hooks and uppercuts, it's not impossible that you could get caught with an elbow. Yeah.
What do you think about that KSI, his last fight? I know he threw a full-on elbow across the guy's face.
You know, I didn't see it. I would have to take a look at
Yeah,
it.
I'm gonna have to show you the video after the fact because there was a lot of people saying that guy should not be in a boxing ring because of how crazy that shit was.
Was it intentional?
From my view, it looked like because it was getting pretty heated. He was getting back down a little bit, and he went here and just clunk right on his chin.
Yeah, like I said,
What?
I
I
didn't
never
see
saw
it.
that.
And I
either.
feel like that's pretty erratic. Like that doesn't happen very often in boxing matches, right?
But he's a YouTuber.
Yeah,
So-
true.
That's actually kind of an old school trick. Like old timers will work on like hitting the bag with their fist and then their elbow.
Finishing with their elbow
when
over?
they're boom,
Yeah.
Oh.
like pop pop.
Oh, so maybe it was like a technique
That's
thing,
what
like
it
something
was,
he was
yeah.
training.
It's against the rules. It's a foul and a pretty significant one at that. So I wouldn't advocate
Yeah, I know they didn't call it a DQ or
for
anything. They continued
techniques
to
like
fight.
that.
How good are you at jump rope?
I'm pretty good at jump rope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that shit's
most
cool.
boxers are.
Yeah.
It's typically the first thing that we do when we get into the gym. So I'll usually do like 2 to 5 rounds of jump rope to begin my warm up after I get my boots and my wraps on. So I got a couple tricks
Yeah.
that I
that-
could do with the jump rope.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Like when I start fighting and it goes down to one Kyler versus Ronda Rousey, like when do you know you're ready to fight? Like as far as your fitness,
Just tell this kid Ronda's gonna beat him.
No,
dude.
it's gonna go down to one Kyler. Okay,
No,
I
never.
promise.
It'll never.
I mean,
I'm gonna start, dude. But how do you know you're ready to like get in the ring and your fitness is good?
Well, it's the person, you know, it's the individual, and that's your coach. Should have an idea of when that is. And then, I mean, really, you'll find out when you get in there because either it's going to go the way you thought it did, and then it confirms your beliefs and those become true, or you're going to get hit with a big dose of reality and like see that maybe there was some delusion there in your thought process.
It's not like maybe running a marathon and being like, okay, I can do that pretty easily.
You kind of know, you know what I mean? When you're in training and sparring, you know, once you've had enough experience and you've been training for long enough with, you know, a certain level of people, you can kind of gauge yourself against that. And again, if you have a good coach, they should know when you're ready, and they should be ultimately like green lighting it as far as your first fight and things like that. Yeah.
And did you ever have that type of wake up call? I know you said when you first started, it was with your buddies and you were whooping them all. Like your first time, was there after that event where you like got in the gym and you were like, "Whoa, I have a lot to learn"?
I mean, I've definitely gotten my ass kicked in the gym a time or two, as anybody that has ever, you know, trained martial arts for an extended period of time has. But ultimately, it always came to me, you know, fairly quickly. You know, I always had a certain amount of success. I won my amateur boxing debut by knockout.
That's nuts.
I won almost all my amateur fights. I'm an undefeated professional. So I'm used to winning. I have the expectation to win when I go in there. I'm not like hoping to win. You know what I mean?
You know you can win. You got.
I know that I can win. It's what I always do. It's a consistent, habitual act. So it's the expectation.
And tell us about the knockout of the year.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's pretty nuts.
That was
Really
my
nuts.
BYB Extreme debut. It was the opening fight of the card for BYB X. It was their 10th event in Biloxi, Mississippi. I was fighting Spencer Ruggieri, who had a couple of bare knuckle fights to his credit with BKFC and BYB. And I caught him with the first punch that I threw, dropped him. He got up, I dropped him again with, I want to say, the third punch that I threw. And then after a little bit of wrestling and grappling and clinching, I feinted a couple times with the right because I knew that he was afraid of it. And then I stepped in and caught him with the big left hook. And
Throw the clip in right here, honestly. We'll
Yeah,
put
yeah,
it
pull
in.
it
Throw the
up.
clip up.
Yeah,
Right next to
Dude
you.
just crumbled.
it's
break
a
it
great
down.
shot.
That was insane.
Yeah.
And how was that feeling? How did you feel when they announced that was the knockout of the year?
I remember because they did a fan vote. That's how they decided.
Oh, that's
and
even
so
cooler.
I was waiting for the results, and I was scrolling through on my phone one day, and I saw a picture of me, right, from the organization that I didn't recognize. So I knew right then because they were going to announce it any day, and I started screaming in my gym.
Okay, I was gonna say you're at the gym.
I was at the gym. I started screaming at the top of my lungs.
Let's
I
go.
All your
absolutely
boys start getting hype.
lost it. Yeah. 2022 was a real up and down year for me. I was supposed to fight a couple times for BKFC, and they kept falling through. And BYB had been offering me a number of fights and making me a lot of promises. And ultimately, I ended up taking that deal and had that performance, which was the knockout of the night. I signed a long-term deal with the organization, and so I was riding a real high from all that. And then I was supposed to turn around and fight at BYB 11 in Miami, which I was really excited for. And I ended up tearing my ACL in training.
Oh no.
Yeah, and that was tough,
That's a
right?
bummer. That's a big injury.
Yeah, like I said, riding that high of highs, knockout of the night, long-term contract. I'm going to be fighting in Miami. I had a date with one of the ring girls.
Oh,
it was going to
damn.
be
And
the
she lives
best
in
weekend of my
Miami?
life, dude. You know what I mean?
Damn.
And then I tore my knee, and all that shit went by the wayside, and I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to get back to fighting professionally at that level. I didn't know if the surgery would be successful, if the rehab would be successful, if I'd get back to, 85, 90%, whatever it might be, and what that was going to look like. So that was really hard for me
The
initially.
ring girls still go on the date though, or
Well, I didn't make it to that fight, my guy.
fuck?
But I ended up winning the knockout of the year at the end of the year. So that was, I guess, a great way to end the year after a real bittersweet up and down.
Kind of end on a high
2022.
type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was shortly thereafter I got word that I was going to be coming back for the world title.
Oh wow.
So it was a real roller coaster in 2022. But
How do you see that league? How do you see that league going? Is it going to be something big like we all got to watch out for? Are they coming in hot with like a bunch of like money and promotions and sponsors?
BYB Extreme?
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. Obviously I'm one of the faces of the organization, being one of the more visible stars of that organization. But I think that the production value and the quality of show that they've been putting on has been going up exponentially every event, as more and more investor money is coming in. And I think big things are on the way for BYB Extreme in 2024. So I'm excited to be a part of that and for big things to come in the sport of bare knuckle.
That's sweet. I have a question. Watching fighters my whole life and that type of stuff, I see a fighter with a perfect record professionally, right? No losses. I always feel like if I was in their shoes, I'd be walking on eggshells, super superstitious, picking my fights out super carefully. Do you feel any of that way? How do you kind of route your career knowing that you kind of want to keep it perfect?
Well, obviously you never want to lose. But I don't walk around like being afraid of failure or afraid of losing all the time. I know that like I could lose any fight any day. Anybody can be beaten on any given day. But I don't worry about that. I just focus on being the best that I can be. And, you know, I want to put on big fights. I want to be involved in big events and putting on big shows. So that's where my focus is. Like I said, I'm big on visualization and manifestation. I picture these things in my mind a million times before I'm in that ring or that arena in real life. And so it just becomes the expectation, you know, that my hand is going to get raised at the end of that fight. So yeah, I don't worry about that. You know, I'm not the matchmaker. I don't worry about that stuff too much either. I'm not superstitious.
Nice.
You know what I mean? I make my own fate and my own destiny.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you're in the ring, are they like your opponents talking shit a lot, or you guys are more quiet?
It depends on the individual. It depends on the person. There's definitely a lot of chatter. I guess in all my all my bare knuckle fights, you know, I'm a talker.
Yeah, I've heard you talk a good amount of shit.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I like to talk in there. I'll use it. Again, it's mental warfare. You know what I mean? I'm not just breaking you down physically. I'm breaking you down mentally. So I'm hitting you in the face. I'm hitting you in the body. And I'm talking shit to you when I'm doing it. Or you're hitting me and I'm talking shit to you like when you're hitting me. You know, that can really fuck with a guy's psyche when they hit you with their best shot and you call them a bitch and you make fun of them and you keep coming forward. You know what I mean? It can really make a guy start to doubt himself. Everyone's different, but yeah, I'm a talker.
You ever have any guy that was like super, super vocal before the fight and then you get in the ring and you're like, why aren't you talking now, bitch?
Yeah, absolutely. It's most people.
Yeah, most people.
Yeah, most people ain't really about that life. You know, they don't keep that same energy when the bell rings. But that's one of the things that I love about combat sports. You can't fucking fake it. It will expose you and it will show the audience like your true nature.
Yeah, what
you know
type of person
who
you are
at your core being. So, you know, you can say whatever the fuck you want before the fight. Let's talk after.
Yeah, 100%.
Are there foreign fighters in the bare knuckle league you're in? Like, are there people from Brazil, Russia?
Absolutely. It's a global sport. So there are people from all over the world. There was a guy from Ukraine that just fought this weekend at BYB 20 in Biloxi. Patty Juarez, who was the women's lightweight champ. She's from Mexico.
Oh, nice.
The guy that just won the welterweight title was on UFC, like Tough Brazil.
Oh, wow.
You know, so he's from Brazil. So yeah, it's a global sport that has global athletes from all over the planet.
Could you take Hezbollah?
The little, I'd kick him. I'd kick his head off, dude.
How far could you kick him?
Probably pretty far. Yeah. I'm not a big Hezbollah fan.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's calling out like Khabib too, or what?
Yeah, I was gonna ask too. I know you're mainly a striker and stuff, but there's a lot of debate like Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Who's that one guy though that goes, I smash people?
Oh, that's Hamzat.
Oh, yeah.
Hamzat Chimaev. And kind of like the Dagestanis that are coming out in wrestling. Where do you think the biggest movement for martial arts is right now? Outside of the U.S.?
Obviously, I think having strong wrestling is a huge base. I think like boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, BJJ, those are the 4 pillars of mixed martial arts. Maybe judo, that's 5.
Yeah.
But any style could beat any style. It's not as if like one style, you know, is the be all end all. The reason why mixed martial arts is a compilation of all these different sports is because they're all incomplete, right? They all have holes as far as like a martial arts system. And that's why mixed martial arts is the most complete like sport for combat, because it encompasses punches, kicks, elbows, knees, takedowns, submissions, right? So they all have holes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start the helicopter program. That's my
Oh, dude, this guy.
And we're gonna
bring it to the UFC.
we're gonna
You
put
should
you in
come
a
to the
room alone
gym
with
on Sparring.
Hasbulla.
And
What's up?
you should come to the gym on Sparring.
I actually want to.
We'll give you some gloves. You could try the
I
helicopter
was gonna ask you,
technique.
what do I need
Film
to
it.
get?
We'll film it.
Get your
what
best
should I
women
get? Should
fighter.
I bring gloves or like
16-ounce gloves would probably be good.
16?
Yeah, you can
16
see
ounce.
how effective the helicopter technique is.
I'm down.
I ain't fucking showing up
No,
anywhere
I actually
close
want to
to
go
that
though.
gym.
Yeah,
do
for
that.
sure.
I do.
We'll talk
That'd be
afterwards.
sick.
Yeah,
that would be
I'll
super cool.
let you know where the gym's at. You should come through.
He wanted to go too, but
Yeah.
he was like ducking the day I wanted
No,
to go.
I
So
wasn't
like,
ducking.
dude,
We didn't know that we needed gloves and everything for Muay Thai class.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of everybody training martial arts. I think that whatever it is, boxing, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, training martial arts is a life skill. You know, just like swimming is a life skill because you don't need to know how to swim, right? But one day it could save your fucking life, right? Because you know how to do it, or it could cost you your life because you don't, right? And fighting is the same way. Like, that's actually miraculous that you've gone your whole life without getting in a fight.
honestly,
But the thing is, like, there might be a time and a place where you can't avoid getting into a fight because someone isn't going to let you not fight them, whether it be, you know, a fight at a bar, someone tries to mug you, rob you, whatever it is. Like, you might have to fight someday. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's just like a person that doesn't know how to swim in the ocean, like thrashing around
Gonna
and
drown.
flailing about is probably not going to save your life. And at that point, it's too late for you to take lessons, and you'll have wished that you did because it might cost you your ass.
yeah.
So I'm a big proponent and advocate of everybody training martial arts, whatever that might be, because it's a skill that could save your life. And ultimately, I think that people that practice martial arts have a certain degree of responsibility about themselves. Like, I think it only actually improves the safety of a community when people better know how to defend themselves in a fight.
I feel like it makes people less aggressive too.
For
once
sure, you
learn
don't
how
have
to do
anything
it.
to prove. Like, I tell people all the time, like, I only fight people on TV for money.
Yeah.
I only train against seasoned professionals or like high level amateurs. I don't fight on the streets against fucking bums and barflies. I don't spar against nobodies that don't know what they're doing. Like, I'm a
I'm
seasoned,
looking at me, dude.
I'm a seasoned professional though. You know what I mean? Like, for me, it's
you
my
stared at me
livelihood, and it's so
Yeah,
I
remember
take it
that.
seriously. But yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna end it here.
Well,
but-
before we end it, this is
Okay.
a new little segment. This is like fast firing. I have a cup of a couple different things here.
Pass the cup down
We're
to the
gonna pick
shark.
5, okay?
They're
And
just
we're
quick
rapid
questions.
fire.
Okay.
Let's see what we pick. I honestly forgot what we did there. I'm not gonna lie. So like,
So I
we'll
pick
see.
this and then
Pick
Pick a question.
Read
Pick
it,
it,
out-
and
read
then
it out
Answer it
loud.
quick and then
okay.
dump
Let's
it.
do it.
All right, number 1.
What do we got?
If you had to survive a zombie apocalypse with one celebrity, who would you choose and why? Probably Survivor Man, because
That's a good one.
He's
Bear
got a lot of
Grylls.
skills.
Shout out
There
Bear
we go.
Grylls.
Yeah,
That's good.
shout out to Survivor Man, or maybe Bear Grylls if he's not available.
Yeah.
Number 2, what's the most awkward date you've ever been on, and how did you handle it? Oh, that's tough. I've been on a lot of bad dates. I don't know. I'd probably just bone out. You know what I mean? Good shit. Call an Uber later. Number 3, what's the funniest or strangest thing you've witnessed at a party or a social event? I've been to a lot of parties and I've seen a lot of weird shit, and probably a lot of it I wouldn't want to admit here. That's one of the weird things. Dude, since I've been on this ride, I've been partying with like celebrities and supermodels and doing a lot of weird drugs with a lot of
Oh yeah.
weird people. But yeah.
Hey, we'd love to have him on.
We'll leave it at that.
Number 4, how many people did you have to fuck to get over
No,
to
wait.
or how many people did you have to fuck over to get to the place you're in? Well, that's a big difference what a word makes. I probably 0. You know what I mean? I don't believe in like burning bridges. You know what I mean? I'm not big on revenge either. I'm big on just doing the right work and moving in good faith and having good relationships with good people and closing the door on shitty people. So I'm not into getting one over on people. I'm not into getting back on people. I don't believe that that's the way to be successful in life. You know what I mean? What goes around comes around. So if you do that shit, you're stabbing people in the back all the time.
And it comes
There'll be a
back to
day
you
when
for sure.
For sure.
happens to you.
Except for the couple people that got knocked out on the way, but that's all good.
Well, you know, they got paid to be there, and
Yes, sir.
they were trying to do the same to me. So I wouldn't, you know, it's all fair play.
Yes, sir.
All right, last one. If there was one person you could tell I told you so, who is it?
Ooh.
You know, I'm big on speaking my truth and speaking things into existence. You know, so I've been calling my shot the whole way. You know, I remember I told my coach and my good friend Ian McCall, we were smoking a blunt in his apartment, and I was like, "Hey man, what would you think if I did bare knuckle boxing?" And he's like, "Why the fuck would you want to do that?" Right? And I was like, "Because I honestly think I could win a world title in like a couple of fights and get famous, and it would be rad, and we should do it." And he's like, "All right, fuck it, let's do it." And we shook hands.
There we go.
I said, "I'm gonna win you a fucking world title. I'm gonna make you a world champion again, coach." And I would remind him of that conversation that we had all the time the last couple years. So winning the world title and having him in my corner and being able to put that belt on his shoulder and being like, "Hey, hold this for a little while." You know, I fucking told you. I told you so. You know, that was a really cool moment for me. He was one of my idols when I was coming up as a young fighter because he was the man of the lighter weight classes in the UFC. And being from my neighborhood, it was someone I looked up to and someone I wanted to be like. And so to be able to win him that world title like I told him that I would, that was like one of the most fulfilling experiences of my life.
That's awesome.
So yeah, probably him. I told you so, Uncle Creepy. I told you I was going to do it.
Told
I
you.
fucking did it. I love you, buddy.
Any last words to the audience
Yeah,
here?
anything coming up?
Anyone you want to shout out?
Yeah.
Socials, socials, everything?
Absolutely. So we should have a fight signed here soon. My last opponent pulled out of the rematch because he's a pussy. So I'm getting a new opponent. I'm going to be fighting December 2nd at BYB 22. It should be announced soon. So I'm excited for that. Stay tuned for more details. You can follow me at Mark the Shark Irwin on Instagram.
It'll be in the description.
Yeah, or on TikTok, Threads. Yeah, so follow me on there if you want to see my training, footage, and updates about my upcoming fights. Shout out to all my sponsors, CBD Health Solutions, Bobby's Boxing Club, A1 Boxing, Accounting Your Life, Massage Matters, Restore Hyper Wellness, Dr. Kessler, the OC Fight Doc, Tough Teeth, my mouth guard guy, Blake Weaver. Love you, dude. Thank you to all my coaches. Thank you to all my training partners. If I forgot anybody, I'm sorry. I love you. Thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate you.
Of course, it was a pleasure,
Thank
man.
you for coming on. But
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Please like this video. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
I'll be in the gym.
Jay with a baby, I am what he made me. No, you cannot shame me, so it's for the birds. Buy for a price you ain't know what it's worth. He not letting go like it's grandmama purse.